Before we begin logging OPC UA data, it is important to first understand that the main purpose of the OPC collector is to provide a mechanism for creating and managing OPC UA data collection. So to begin logging OPC data, we must first open the OPC collector module within the Canary administrator. Within the OPC collector, tags are organized into groups, and groups are organized into logging sessions. So a group is a set of tags that share common configuration properties. Group properties include the sample interval, the ability to normalize timestamp precision, and the application of deadbanding. A logging session, on the other hand, is a collection of groups. So logging session properties dictate which Canary historian and dataset the tags within the group will be archived in. It's also important to note that when organizing tags into groups and groups into logging sessions, we should not only consider the properties that the tags will have in common, but also the potential interruption of data logging. When editing groups, the entire logging session will require a momentary stop and start to apply the changes, and this will result in a 1 or 2 second gap in the data record where it'll show no data values for all the tags within the logging session. So let's start by creating a logging session. So we'll start by clicking on the New Session button. Now we can begin to configure our session. We can give it any name we'd like. I'll leave it defaulted. We can select the historian that we would like to send the data to. We can enter the machine name or IP address of the historian machine. Now, if your Canary historian is on the local machine, we can just use localhost as the entry. And then we can select an existing data set, or we can type in a name that we want to use for a brand new data set in the historian. Now, we can also send data to multiple historians. I can simply use a comma separator, and I can type in the name of the other historian that I'd like to send the data to. Now we have an option where we can check the new file box, and we only need to check this if we wish to adjust the licensing of tags that are already being logged. By default, it's not checked, which is normal. Now that we have our session settings for the historian set, now we need to configure the connection to the OPC server. First, we'll need to fill in the host name or URL, and then we need to add the port number for the OPC server. If you would like to enable security, we can check the Use Security box, and then we can click on the Settings menu to add the security certificate information. Typically, this box is not checked. In this case, I'm going to create a new data set. And then we'll hit Apply. And now I'll be prompted, if I say yes, it'll create that data set in our target historian. Now I can move on to configure the group. So just like with the session name, we have a group name. Now I'm going to create 2 groups, so I'm just going to leave this as group number 1. And I'm not going to adjust the sample interval. We'll leave it set at 1 second. But now I want to go ahead and browse the OPC server so that we can actually create a tag list from which we will log the data into our historian. So I'm going to select this particular node, and we can see all the tags associated with that node. I'm going to just choose all of the tags, and we'll say OK. Now I can further configure our tag list either individually. I can choose a tag and make some changes to the settings, or I can actually add more properties, or what we would call metadata properties, by clicking on the Tag Properties button. Here I can choose more predefined tag properties. So for example, description. I can also add maybe engineering units, but I can also add in my own custom tag properties. So I'll hit Apply. So here you can see my new description, engineering units, and location columns. Now if I look to my individual tag I had highlighted, I have 3 extra fields for adding more tag properties, or some would call it metadata properties. So for engineering units, for kilowatts, maybe I want to put in kW, maybe even a location. Once I'm satisfied that I have my tag list all set, I can go ahead and choose Apply. And now I can add my second group. Now for my group settings here, it auto numbers them. Maybe I want to change my sample interval though to 5 seconds. And now I'm going to browse the OPC server again. And we'll go ahead and select some tags from this node. Again, I can make edits into the tag settings for each individual tag. I can make edits to large quantities of tags by using additional tools like Excel, and we'll cover that more in one of our next videos. So I'll go ahead and hit the Apply button. From here I can begin to log data. I can go to the status page, and I see here's our new session we've created with our 2 groups. We have a total of 64 tags between the 2 groups that we'll be logging for session 1. And I can hit the play button. So here we're now logging data, and I can actually go into my historian and we can double check to make sure everything is logging properly. Here's my Canary Academy data set we created. I can drill down in. Here's the first file for today that we're logging. I can drill in, and here are all the different tags. There's 64 of them. So if I choose different tags, I can see, we have values coming in, our timestamp value and quality.